the compound that's kind of west of it, and that was able to get them towards the very last stages of the game. So good for them.
Good for them. I will say their strategy smelled defensive from start to finish. I mean, they came into this thing in 6th place. They know that if they can kind of play carefully, get 4 points as an average, they're going to make their advance into the winner's bracket. And that's what that 2-2 split said to me. Worst case scenario, 2 of us get wiped, but the other 2 will survive. And I get that. I get that when you're looking for top 8.
Yeah, and 17 actually moved in on one of the compounds just not south of them, I should say here, as this analysis is brought to you by STC Play. And seeing how all of that is actually breaking down here for these teams as well. If 4AM's able to make a bit of a push here, there is a world of possibility that they could make it into that grand final. But also, another team that I felt like made a bit of a push compared to what we saw before was LG, who had some decent rotates to start, and then Kickstart managed to salvage some points here and there. It's not hugely enough just yet, but
it was a start. And yes, it was one of the best rotations I feel like I've seen from them yet, but I'm also, for those of you at home, I'm not going to snort the copium just yet. They drop at Melt of Power. They had a hard rotate, an easy rotation ahead of them. They played out of the north, but Kickstart got some kills, and that is where you start the comeback.
Meanwhile, Spiro being annoying for everybody in the final lobby here, as 4AM, Twisted Minds, Game PT, and also Forest manages to make an appearance here at the top, who was kind of on the cusp. 24 points coming into today.
You know, I think if I was saying that GP was playing that defensive game, so was Forest.
Yeah.
Forest, I don't think got as much out of it. They waited till the end game, but still, they're going to be happy with that finish. 4AM, on the other hand, is going to be ecstatic with that finish. They came in today 11th place, 21 total points. This is going to put them in the top 8.
Spian getting himself 700 damage as well on the back of this. Only the 3 kills, mind you, so not able to convert too much. But 4AM, I think, is finding their footing here in the man of the match, brought to you by Gadia. As I mean, for what they started with, they start on the Yasnaya side of that bridge, start near the gas station, and slowly find an opportunity to make it across that bridge, then start controlling the south side. And it looked like calm and patient 4AM here, trying to find their footing into what is a very important day.
And thank goodness they're turning on. I gotta remind people of the pedigree here. HSM and Zepion, they are PGC champions. They know how to win this. Crazy is 4th at PGIS. Lou is 4th at PGIS, 3rd at PGC 2019. These guys are pedigreed players, and thank goodness they're finally putting their money where their lead where their money could be.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. 37 points will go their way now in 7th place, moving into those top positions. Again, a little bit later than some people would think that they will be trying to strike out for that grand final, but if you do it here, great. You're in the grand final and everything gets reset.
And you come in with the confidence boost. I sat and had lunch with the Sonics, and they were like, you know, if we could guarantee we get out of losers brackets every time, you might actually want to go, because you get those extra days to play. You don't have 3 cold days before you come back into the grand final. It makes sense. And so I do think that is that chance of 4AM maybe gets that confidence under them, and if they qualify, they go to the grand final with a different perspective.
Yep, a trial by fire here for some of the teams, with our final Erangel of the lower bracket as well. And we can see LG on screens trying to gain some momentum, some traction. I think they probably got, what, 5 or so points from that game, so still kind of on the cusp. If they do convert a single game, they would be jumping up, but likewise so with a lot of these teams who are looking and scrambling for that spot.
It's true, but even with that finish, the Sponges that we mentioned in the pre-show are still kind of doing their thing. We saw Twisted Minds going deep into that one and pulling points, so that does still mean, looking at that scoreboard, any team is 1 victory away from moving into the top 8. And with 5 games left to play, I do think people on that bubble do need to be a little bit worried. Tyloo already slid down 2 positions off of that 1 match.
Yeah, Na'Vi as well, one of those Sponge teams that actually was doing a lot of work in the south side of this circle. Seeing people like Example popping off as he usually does, because he's a robot, he's a machine when it comes to PUBG. But anyway, let's get to it. It's the final Erangel of the losers bracket. You want to go out with a bang when it comes to the grassy pastures. Let's head over to the commentators.
Thank you so much, James and Steve, as we head into, as I said, the very last Erangel here of the losers bracket. And I'm not sad about it. I'm really excited for Miramar.
I'm just caught off that you use their first names. I feel like they're in trouble now.
Yeah, so...
James, Steve, get over here. What did you just do?
You know, we're really good friends, so like I can say it. You know,
I set you up for that one.
I made that joke yesterday, too, so I'm a little old. But yeah, same plane path. Same exact plane path, actually.
Dude, these north-south have been very, very common as we're moving into it. Just also as close to center. We just had that one really weird southern east-west that we had go over military base. But other than that, Plane paths all in all have been pretty solid.
Plane paths, I think this entire tournament, we've only really had 2 like kind of wonky ones. And even then, like the circle seemed to be somewhat regular.
How do we get these really nice plane paths into an absolute no man's land of the in-game circles?
Yeah, that one ended just to the west of Yas Lake. And as you saw, there was really nothing to play there. But again, I really do have to credit 4AM with taking their time there, sweeping the south side of the circle. They knew they had a lot of room as no one else was on the east, and they were methodical. And that's exactly what we've been needing to see from them, because 4AM, it's almost been like a game of hesitation with them and not being as aggressive or even like realizing when to pull off the trigger when they've needed to. A 777 will win that UAZ, and although there's no threat of the knock there, yeah, he will let him know.
I love the honks. Whenever you get it first, and you're like, I like turn and look at him and just honk as you go. Like, no, this is mine.
That's a little irritating if you're 17. You're like, oh, you little.
Oh, you're gonna die.
Oh, look at this circle, though. As we go right back to the West Coast, we were granted a very Western-leaning circle yesterday, which I was excited about, because it's been a long time since we've seen those, specifically because those fields as well as swamp. There's actually so many different terrain types in that circle, so it is very fun to watch.
Look, I'm just a simple man.
Fun to play, too.
I want to see either mortars shot off of Everest or onto Everest, and this circle provides the opportunity for that to happen.
It does, as we see teams around that, specifically D plus Kia will be looting up in the north. You also do see Game PT, as you know, they like to sit up in North Georgia as well. So not that many teams in the circle yet, but I imagine with the way that the teams have been setting up, especially in this lobby, we're actually not going to see too many fights on the edge. I say that, and we'll probably see all the fights on the edge.
I also do want to point out the fact that one of the reasons we don't see as much is shooting from the top of Everest or to the top of Everest kind of throws off a lot of your math, because you're used to a lot of the mortar angle velocities and stuff like that. You're used to them coming back down. Sure. And that kind of accounts for some of the distance that comes into play. Whenever you're firing from the top, they go out further, and whenever you're trying to hit the top, you have to kind of dial it back significantly.
We actually saw mortar knocks and kills being traded. I think it was between LG and D plus Kia, so they were pretty dialed into each other's positions. And you know, we were kind of curious about, before the event even started, Matt, we're talking, all of us talent, we're talking about, like, you know, how many teams are actually going to use mortars, and we realized very quickly that quite a few are starting to really kind of dial in these plays with that new item, and it's been devastating for some teams.
And a lot of the teams that were good with them in the winners bracket, they went ahead and moved directly in. They're in the grand finals. We haven't been seeing them be as common or as directed. They are still happening, but they haven't been as impactful here. And I'm just curious if that's a gun. I'm sure that's just kind of a meta and adjustment thing, right?
Yeah, give them time. I feel like we're going to start seeing mortars, especially like if you are one of the teams that is in a position, whether it's a compound or just like a very strong position outside of a compound in some sort of terrain element when the circle lands on you. If you're getting gifted, having mortars is actually so devastating, because not only are you in a position where you can hold, but you're also in a position where you can abuse that new item, right? You don't have to worry about a team crashing you, or maybe you have everyone else kind of watching around you and you're safe to just fire away round after round, especially if you're in a compound, let's say, that has extra mortar shells, and you're looking at a team that's stuck in a dip like Kingwin dip or you know, Tempo dip, or really any of the dips that we know are very popular in all these maps. It can be absolutely devastating, as we've also seen Tig get a headshot with a mortar.
That was still wild, dude. Just a straight up headshot with a mortar. That is
Trigonometry, I believe is what they called it.
Yeah, dude, Gunnar was really proud of that one. He was real proud of that one.
It's good.
Okay, looking in, let's give you guys some updates. Most of our team is going to be trying to play around, as we've been seeing a very centered meta. I want to give you guys a heads up. The center of this one is kind of field. So that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a more north-south shift in the way that people are trying to play, leaning more into what we would say the Everest hillside, into the Quarry hillside, and the comfort inside of that, maybe hoping for more of a 50-50 shift in the hard shift, because why not expect a hard shift at this stage, right?
Yeah, I mean, the tournament has been pretty brutal with hard shifts, but I do like the fact that Batulins has not given up. He did get shot off on the east side of Everest, so he's like, you know what? I only heard one set of shots. I'm going to go to the west side of Everest. And sure enough, yeah, he is there. And they love fighting over this, specifically because of how much information you can gather from the top of that, right? Especially in a circle like this where you would potentially want to rotate. You would be able to see all the positions in front of you. You could see if teams are rotating or if they're holding tempo reds or any of those, you know, kind of spots around Gatka. So not surprising at all to see Twisted Minds kind of fight for the top of Everest, even though it's not center circle.
I mean, Batulins, high ground, getting information for a squad, never. We never see that.
And look at this, actually, Matt. Sarvam has pulled up on the east side of this as well. So Game PT have to be very careful, because if they do get in a fight, you know that Twisted Minds is going to hear that and immediately go for a third party.
While this is happening, we also have, I believe, that D plus Kia that's going to be playing on the western side of this. They're being held back by all the movements that's happening with the lower end of Twisted Minds right now, off that high ground point, so they don't want to move in too much. But if you mind still just trying to hunker down into all of the hills, and or I guess the clefts at the top of the mountain, you can't really call them hills on top of a mountain, right?
True, but yeah, clefts or ridges, I guess, yeah. Whatever you'd want to call them. Either way, this is
rocky recesses.
Ooh, I like that. RR, very nice. But yeah, Game PT now are starting to become aware that there is another team on the east side, as they did shift a little bit towards Twisted, but Twisted, I think, is more or less just kind of given up on, not given up, but they're just kind of backing off. There's no real reason for them to take a fight early on the top of Everest.
They're more after the information to be had rather than the actual position itself. What could be provided with, because you're going to get so much just to be able to deal with the fields that are down to the south of you. You can see kind of the downside is Sarvam is going to be trying to cut across this. They've been kind of getting away with this. Well, I say that sometimes they've been getting away with it.
Sometimes, sure.
When it works, it works. And when it doesn't, boy, it doesn't. Is they're going to send it by. A couple of shots going to be coming out from them. Not the easiest of pathing, as most of this stuff is kind of taken until they get back down to that quarry area.
Yeah, the east side and center of this circle, Matt, is an absolute mess, as you do see 17 now currently holding a duo here in the old Tempo Reds. As Xiaowu is going to pull out a Panzer. Is he going to find it? No, he's just going to go for the spray instead. And is Sarvam stopping here? No, Baron Peak's going to get knocked.
Yeah, they're going to make the stop here. Xiaowu's
Xiaowu!
Go down as well. Panzerfrost can be a problem. I feel like that was coming out from the window. Suju trying to make sure they can get the Molotov out there to see if he can slow down, or at least maybe Viking Funeral somebody. He's having to defend up. The rest of 17 Gaming now trying to come in as quick as possible. But remember the firing lines that we saw Sarvam have to deal with as they came in. They're having to kind of contest with that as well. So it's slowing them down. Suju, though, doing a great job on hitting the shot, slowing through. The nade's going to connect right as the reinforcements are landing, though.
And that was a massive mistake there. Xiaowu going down was obviously, I mean, there's no other way to say it. That was just not great, as now it's going to be two members. And Sheila finds a nice nade on the Xiaobei, Matt.
That was just beautifully tossed and cooked. Aim just lined in. Lil Ghost, the last one up. It is the dream for 17 Gaming to try to hold together that smoke. Not quite going outside, so Zenek's going to have to move away from it, as this is just trying to, I guess, recoup something in a bad situation.
Whatever they can get, but as they've been doing that, it's going to be the Expendables. They've been watching this. They know that there's multiple locks and potentially only 2 members up for each specific team that they're watching here, so I would not be surprised, especially with 777's position, if they're going to get even more aggressive on this one, Matt, and they should.
And this is kind of the way that we've been seeing the Expendables play, right? They let 777 kind of come in, scout, feed the information over. He almost feels like he's feeding the information back into figuring out whether or not do we make our more bold play here. And until the firefight happens, I don't think that we're going to see them move, but it is also the Expendables. They might get a knock of their own and decide to move.
I say they should, but at this point they can't. It's going to be Twisted Minds pulling up on Gatka North, and so that's going to stop any form of push. And very wisely, though, again, the Expendables making great decisions. They're going to pull off. They realize that that's not a very feasible option now. They're just going to let these two duos coexist in this very tight compound and just pull off to a better position.
I want translated comms from that squad so bad, because I want to hear their decision-making processes during these stages is so clean.
It's been so solid. I agree with you 100%, Matt. Again, not only the ability for them to win team fights, but just kind of pulling off certain fights. Yeah, some of their rotations have been a little wonky, and they've lost half their members doing so, but I think that their communication has to be very clean, as we're now moving into 2 teams that have been struggling. It's going to be DD team taking a fight here with Luminosity, Matt.
It's a pretty strong position, specifically if we do see the circle come to the south, but DDT trying to just defend up, use those recesses in the hillside, but LG trying to go for a flank around Kickstart, being a little bit more wild and loud to see if maybe he can be a distraction to allow Snakers to kind of get into a position. If people start taking shots over into the Kickstart line, then that means that Snakers can find something. Rello also going to start trying to regroup, as he did lose the teammate that he was kind of running along with, so instead, it looks like they're just going to lean into a very eastern line, but at the same time, with the amount of time it's taken, DDT getting the res, and they're also cementing their defensive line.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is just a straight-up net loss for LG, as they Flood has followed, and they've also given up so much control now to DD Team. They're able to kind of surround them, and this fight was taking place in the circle. Now the circle is shifted straight to Gatka. Basically, chopsticks is how center, Matt. It's been a while since we've seen a chopsticks ending, as DD Team now starting to push the pace here against LG.
Man, I'll take me a chopsticks ending anytime. Emo Pig, one of the best names of a player at this.
Sexy Pig, I miss him as well. Could you imagine if they were on the same team?
Sexy Pig, Emo Pig, and Waikikamuka all in the same squad.
Oh, that's good. I didn't even think about Waikikamuka now as LG. What do they do here, man? Are they going to be able to defend this here?
They've got Snakers on the outside, but there's not a lot of information. I mean, he can feed information, but there's not a lot he can do. Rello's going to go down. Kickstart's got to win this fight. The defend up, looks back in, takes a lot of damage from both of the aggression, but now is going to have to try to step away from it. Does at least manage to sneak back into where Snaker's going to be at in the recess line. Snaker's going to be able to defend up, and this is why he wanted to get back into this position. Snakers can defend him up, and now they've got more control. This nade looks like if it lands too far, I was going to say, yeah, it looks like it's going to go too far, but I like the idea on what they were trying to do there.
The first one cooked a little too long, the second one not cooked enough, but Snakers went huge there, getting that knock on a cold. Otherwise, Kickstart was dead to rights, and so they do kind of stave off this push a little bit. They'll maintain a slight reset as DD Team. I'm curious if they're actually going to either push the pace or just try to get out of here.
Well, this is such a weird situation for both of these squads that are lower on the leaderboard, right? They know that they're not inside the safe zone, but kills are what they need. That's going to be their lifeblood to try to help them get back into this one. So, and are they going to go for circle, or are they just going to go to try to reset? It did look like they left Mamu back behind this, and they are going for a flank over here.
This is a bait, though. This is a very nice bait from DD Team, as you see Snakers already shifting away towards the other two members of DD Team, and so I don't think they know that Mamu is still there. Kickstart might hear him if he's starting to move up, but again, this duo is very much on the back foot, as Snakers will find Mamu.
That is big. Now, Emo Pig, Spaceman, both making their move in. Snaker's going to be the line up. Spaceman's going to look in. He's got the rock, knows where he's going to be at. Meds are going to be coming through. The push comes out, doesn't get the knock in time. Reinforcements, are we going to see it? No! Snaker's just going to step in. He doesn't even need the support. Snakers finding the way to get some points in. Kickstart going for the defense, and there you go. LG manages to win a team fight.
Very nice. I mean, they do lose two, but that was big. That was very big, I would say, for the boys' confidence there moving forward. They're able to clean up DDT, get some points. And as a duo in the circle, there's definitely some spots that they can play where they'll be able to kind of survive a little bit and maybe get some placements. So some life now finally from LG.
It's going to be hectic to move in. You can see that we're looking at that 8th place position right now, 37 points. There is a drop off, about 6 points into Forest, 1 point back behind that Ty Lu, 1 point behind everybody else going down into Friendly Fire after that, which is another 5-point drop off as Circle still has Everest in play. As you were talking about Chopsticks a second ago, Na'Vi and Friendly Fire both playing opposite sides of the Chopsticks.
Yeah, Friendly Fire and Na'Vi both in very strong positions here, as they will be able to kind of hold the compounds they're holding and then head into the Chopsticks later if they need. Obviously, we know heading into Chopsticks very there could be a death sentence, especially with all the utility coming through. Now with the advent of mortars as well, I mean, that's just something else to worry about. But even just regular utility nades is going to be devastating if a team does commit too early. So I like that they're just kind of holding opposite sides, as we now are starting to watch 4 AM rotate in, and I do worry about where they're going to land, Matt.
Yeah.
The circle
of Pot Chopsticks maintains being in the center position, so that's going to make this one a bit more